It started with the tea. Every Sunday dinner at my in-laws' house, Harold, my father-in-law, would insist on making me his special blend. No one else ever drank it, not even my husband David. "It's just for my dear daughter-in-law," Harold would say with that practiced smile that never quite reached his eyes. I'm Sarah Mitchell, and 6 months ago, I made the mistake of discovering that my father-in-law had been embezzling from his former pharmacy chain. I never told anyone, but somehow he knew I'd accessed those old records. The symptoms began gradually. First, it was just stomach cramps and dizziness after those Sunday dinners. Then came the unexplained bruising, hair loss, and finally, the vomiting blood. "You're working too hard," David would say, watching me curl up in pain on our bathroom floor. "Maybe you should take a break from that accounting job." But I knew better. I'd seen the way Harold watched me during those family dinners, how his eyes followed the teacup as I drank, how he'd ask with carefully crafted concern if I was feeling well. Last Sunday, I caught him in the kitchen, adding something to my tea, a fine white powder that disappeared instantly in the dark liquid. When I confronted David about it, he exploded. "This is ridiculous," he shouted, pacing our bedroom. "Dad's been a respected pharmacist for 40 years. He's retired now, for God's sake. Why would he want to hurt you?" I couldn't tell him about the financial records I discovered. The millions missing, the falsified prescriptions, the money trail that led to offshore accounts. Harold had built his reputation on being the kindly neighborhood pharmacist while systematically stealing from his own company. The statute of limitations hadn't expired yet, and he knew I had enough evidence to ruin him. "I'm not imagining this," I insisted, showing David the latest bruises blooming across my arms. "These aren't normal. Something's wrong." "You've always been jealous of my relationship with Dad," David snapped. "Ever since we got married, you've tried to come between us. Now you're making up these crazy accusations." I stared at my husband of 3 years, wondering how I'd never noticed this blind spot before. David had always idolized his father, but this was different. This was willful ignorance. The next day, while David was at work, I drove myself to the hospital. Dr. Jessica Wong had been my friend since college, and she listened without judgment as I explained my suspicions. "We'll run a full toxicology panel," she said, drawing vials of blood. "But Sarah, if what you're saying is true, this is attempted murder." "I know," I whispered, watching my blood fill the tubes. "But I need proof. No one will believe me without it." Jessica squeezed my hand. "I believe you. And these symptoms, they're consistent with heavy metal poisoning. Someone with pharmaceutical knowledge would know exactly how to administer it gradually." While we waited for the results, my condition worsened. Harold had somehow noticed my hospital visit, probably through his old medical contacts, and the next Sunday dinner he doubled his efforts. "You're looking pale, dear," he said, placing the teacup in front of me. "This special blend will help. It's got extra nutrients." I pretended to drink while watching him. His hands were steady, his smile confident. This was a man used to playing the caring father figure while calculating doses that would kill slowly enough to appear natural. David remained oblivious, chatting about work while I discreetly emptied my cup into a potted plant. That night, the plant's leaves turned black. When I showed David the dead plant the next morning, he accused me of poisoning it myself to prove a point. "You need help," he said, reaching for his phone. "I'm calling Dr. Stevens, that therapist Dad recommended." "No," I said firmly, grabbing my purse. "What I need is a husband who trusts me more than he trusts a murderer." "Dad is not a murderer," David roared, his face turning red. Get out until you come to your senses." I was already heading for the door when my phone buzzed. It was Jessica. "Sarah," her voice was urgent. "The results are in. Get somewhere safe. I'm calling the police." As I drove away from my house, I saw Harold's car pulling into our driveway. He'd probably come to deliver another dose, to finish what he'd started. But he didn't know about the lab results yet. Didn't know that his carefully constructed veneer of respectability was about to shatter. I pulled into Jessica's driveway just as my phone exploded with messages from David. The lab had called him too, as my emergency contact. Now he knew. Now everyone would know. The toxicology report was devastating in its detail. Thallium, arsenic, and lead, all in levels that should have killed me weeks ago. Jessica explained that my symptoms had been masked by carefully calculated doses, administered gradually to mimic a natural illness. "This isn't just attempted murder," Detective Morris said, reviewing the report in Jessica's living room. This is the work of someone with extensive pharmaceutical knowledge. He knew exactly how to keep you alive while slowly destroying your organs. My phone kept buzzing. David's messages evolved from anger to disbelief to desperate pleas. Please come home. We need to talk. This can't be real. There must be a mistake. Dad's crying. He says he loves you like a daughter. I turned off my phone. The police raid on Harold's house revealed his detailed poisoning journal, hidden behind a false panel in his study. Pages of calculations, observations of my symptoms, and timeline projections for what he called my natural decline. He planned to kill me slowly over 6 months, making it look like a mysterious illness. They found the poison stash in his garage, carefully labeled and dated. Multiple substances, each chosen for its specific effects. The detective said it was one of the most methodical attempted murders she'd ever seen. Your father-in-law wasn't just trying to kill you, Detective Morris explained. He was conducting a clinical trial of sorts. Testing different combinations, documenting your reactions. He was treating you like a laboratory experiment. David arrived at the police station while they were booking Harold. I watched through a one-way mirror as my husband confronted his father. Tell me it's not true, David begged. Tell me they're wrong. Harold's kindly mask finally cracked. She was going to ruin everything, he snarled. Poking around in old records, thinking she could destroy my legacy. I built that pharmacy chain from nothing. The money I took was mine by right. David staggered backward. Money? You tried to kill my wife over money? She needed to be eliminated, Harold said coldly. I couldn't let some accountant destroy 40 years of careful work. You would have moved on, found someone else. Someone who knows how to mind their own business. I stepped into the room then, facing my would-be murderer. Harold's eyes widened at my appearance, perhaps shocked I was still alive. The records are already with the FBI, I said quietly. All of them. The embezzlement, the fake prescriptions, the overseas accounts. I sent them the day I found them. I just never told you. Harold lunged across the table, but the officers restrained him. His facade of respectability completely shattered as he screamed threats and obscenities. David watched in horror as his father was dragged away, raving about how he should have used stronger doses. In the hallway afterward, David couldn't meet my eyes. I should have believed you, he whispered. All those times you said something was wrong, I chose him over you. You chose the father you thought you had, I replied, not the man he really is. The following weeks were a blur of medical treatments, police interviews, and legal proceedings. The evidence against Harold was overwhelming. Not only for my attempted murder, but for decades of financial crimes. The FBI found over $12 million hidden in various accounts. More victims came forward. Other people who had mysteriously died after threatening to expose Harold's schemes over the years. The detective suspected he'd been silencing threats this way for decades, using his pharmaceutical knowledge to commit nearly perfect murders. David filed for divorce, unable to live with his guilt and shame. I didn't fight it. Some betrayals can't be undone, some trust can't be rebuilt. He sent me a letter from his therapy sessions, trying to explain how he'd been manipulated by his father's lifetime of lies. I was raised to believe he was perfect, David wrote. Every time someone accused him of wrongdoing, he'd paint them as jealous, mentally unstable, or vindictive. I never realized I was part of his manipulation until I saw him try to kill you. Jessica helped me through the recovery process, both physical and emotional. The poison had done some permanent damage to my liver, but with treatment, I would survive. You know what amazes me? She said during one of our sessions. You never doubted yourself. Even when everyone else called you paranoid, you trusted your instincts. Harold's trial revealed the full scope of his crimes. 5 suspicious deaths were linked to him, all people who had discovered his financial schemes. He'd used his reputation as a caring pharmacist to cover his tracks, knowing that no one would suspect the kindly old man who gave free medical advice to his neighbors. The judge sentenced him to life without parole. As they led him away, he looked at me one last time. The mask was completely gone now, revealing the calculating killer beneath. I held his gaze, refusing to show fear. You should have checked those records more carefully, I told him. I'm an accountant. We always keep receipts. 1 year later, I sat in a conference room at the FBI headquarters, sharing my story with a room full of forensic accountants. My experience had become a case study in financial fraud detection and how white-collar crimes can escalate to violence. The numbers always tell a story, I explained, showing them the transaction patterns I discovered. Harold's mistake was thinking that killing me would bury his secrets. But evidence doesn't die with its witnesses. The investigation into Harold's past had uncovered a trail of victims spanning 3 decades. Whistleblowers, employees, and even a journalist, all had died from seemingly natural causes after getting too close to his schemes. The FBI dubbed him the pharmacist poisoner, and his case became one of the most significant white-collar crime investigations in state history. My liver function had improved to 80%, better than doctors expected. The permanent damage meant I couldn't drink alcohol anymore, but it seemed a small price to pay for surviving. Jessica had become my closest friend, and she'd helped me start a support group for survivors of financial fraud and domestic abuse. The hardest part for victims, I told my support group, is that these criminals often wear respectable faces. They're trusted community members, beloved family figures. That's what makes them so dangerous. David attempted reconciliation 6 months after the trial. He'd been through intensive therapy, trying to understand how he'd been manipulated throughout his life. I've realized Dad controlled everything, he said during our coffee meeting. My career choice, my friendships, even my marriage to you. He wanted someone in the family business to help cover his tracks. And when I threatened that plan, he tried to eliminate me. I finished. I'm so sorry, Sarah. David's voice cracked. I should have protected you. I looked at my ex-husband, seeing him clearly for the first time. He was another of Harold's victims, manipulated since childhood to enable his father's crimes. But understanding didn't mean forgiveness was possible. We can't go back, I said gently. Too much has happened. He nodded, accepting this final goodbye. The pharmaceutical chain Harold had stolen from offered me a position as head of their forensic accounting department. We need someone who knows what to look for, the CEO said. Someone who won't back down under pressure. I accepted, implementing new security measures and training programs. My experience had taught me that the most dangerous predators often hide behind respectability and family ties. Harold's case sparked investigations into other long-term healthcare fraud schemes. My testimony before the state medical board led to stricter monitoring of pharmaceutical inventories and prescription patterns. You've turned your nightmare into positive change, Jessica said during one of our regular dinners. That's the best revenge. She was right. Every time I helped expose another fraud, every time I protected potential victims, I was defeating Harold's legacy of manipulation and murder. The nightmares about poisoned tea gradually faded. I still couldn't attend family dinners or accept drinks from others, but my therapist said that was a reasonable adaptation, not paranoia. Last week, I received a letter from Harold's prison. I recognized his handwriting on the envelope but didn't open it. Some voices don't deserve to be heard anymore. Instead, I focused on building my new life. I started dating again, carefully this time, paying attention to how potential partners treated service staff and handled disagreements. I'd learned to spot the warning signs of manipulation and control. My story appeared in several true crime documentaries, always focusing on the financial investigation aspect rather than sensationalizing the violence. I wanted other accountants and auditors to understand that their work could literally save lives. The numbers don't lie became my mantra in training sessions. Trust your instincts when the evidence points to wrongdoing, no matter how respected the suspect might be. Today, I'm heading to another FBI training session. My poisoning case has become required reading for forensic accountants and fraud investigators. Harold tried to silence me, but instead he made my voice louder than ever. The potted plant from that last Sunday dinner sits on my office desk, its dead leaves preserved in a glass case. It serves as a reminder that survival sometimes means trusting yourself when everyone else calls you crazy. That justice can come through spreadsheets as surely as through courtrooms. And every time I help another whistleblower stand their ground, every time I protect another potential victim, I think of that teacup and the poison it held. Harold tried to write my ending, but instead he only wrote his own. Some poisons are meant to kill you. Others, if you survive them, make you strong enough to save others. I chose the latter. Hi, everyone. I'm Nancy. Life was perfect, or so I thought. As a criminal psychology professor at Berkeley, I spent my days teaching students about the dark side of human nature. Ironic, isn't it? I never saw the darkness lurking within my own family until it was almost too late. Professor Anderson, your lecture on digital deception was fascinating. My students often lingered after class. But today my mind was elsewhere. Wedding preparations were in full swing, and my fiancé Victor was on his way to pick me up for venue hunting. Thanks everyone. Remember, people's true colors often hide behind the prettiest filters. If only I had paid more attention to my own advice. Victor's sleek Tesla pulled up outside the lecture hall. He stepped out, his smile still making my heart skip even after 2 years together. Ready to find our perfect spot, future Mrs. Mitchell? Victor could have afforded any venue with his success as a tech entrepreneur, but we wanted something meaningful. You've hit the jackpot with this one, my sister Lisa gushed as we toured the 4th venue. Her tone dripped with sugary charm. Paul never put this much effort into our wedding, she added with a pointed glance at her husband, who was glued to his phone. The botanical gardens are perfect, I exclaimed. Victor, imagine exchanging vows under that gorgeous arch. Whatever makes you happy, babe, Victor said, squeezing my hand. Lisa's eyes narrowed, though her smile remained intact. Later, at my dress fitting, Lisa insisted on documenting every moment. Your Instagram followers will die over this, she said, snapping photos as I tried on my dream dress. She had volunteered to handle my wedding social media, though I barely used it myself. Isn't this neckline a bit much for a professor? She asked, snapping another picture. I mean, you want your students to focus on your lectures, right? The dress is perfect, Mom defended me. But Lisa wasn't done. Remember my wedding, Mom? My dress was featured in that bridal magazine. She sighed dramatically. Of course, Nancy's will probably get more attention since Victor's family is so connected. At the cake tasting, Lisa kept disappearing with her phone. Just posting updates, she chirped. But through a reflection, I saw her hunched over my purse while Victor and I sampled flavors. Everything okay? Victor whispered, noticing my distraction. She's just excited, I replied, brushing off my unease. Funny how a psychology professor can be so blind when it comes to family. The red flags kept coming. During our engagement photo shoot, Lisa positioned herself as the unofficial second photographer. Let me get some behind-the-scenes content, she said. But she spent more time sneaking glances at my phone than snapping pictures. The final straw came at my bridal shower. Lisa offered to document everything and borrowed my phone to show off my Pinterest board. Through the French doors, I saw her frantically typing, her face lit by my screen. She's really into this wedding, my friend Emma commented. Yeah, I replied, my smile faltering as I watched Lisa's reflection. If only I'd known how into it she truly was. The morning of my wedding dawned bright and beautiful. Sunlight streamed through the resort's penthouse as my makeup artist worked her magic. Everything was perfect, my dream dress, an oceanfront venue, and Victor waiting downstairs. You the most beautiful bride, Lisa gushed, hovering with her phone. Let me capture every moment for your wedding video. My parents beamed from the corner. Both our girls had stunning weddings, Mom said. But this one's definitely more extravagant, Lisa added, her voice tinged with that familiar edge. The ceremony began like a fairy tale. 300 guests filled the oceanfront garden. Victor's eyes glistened as I walked down the aisle. Stop, Lisa's voice shattered the moment. She rushed forward, phone in hand, her face contorted with feigned distress. I'm sorry, but I can't let this happen. The giant screens meant for our wedding video flickered to life. Messages appeared, texts, photos, and timestamps that painted a sordid picture of an affair between Paul and me. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Victor's grip on my hands tightened. Nancy, he whispered, his voice steady. Look at me. Did you do this? No, Victor. I swear I didn't. I believe you. He turned to Lisa, his tone sharp. You've got some explaining to do. Lisa faltered. But the messages, the timestamps. Victor pulled out his phone. Are as fake as your concern. Nancy was in Denver giving a lecture the night of our engagement party. I was there. Want to keep going. The color drained from Lisa's face as her perfect plan unraveled. She hadn't counted on Victor's trust. Doubt about his family's influence on my parents' shame. That's what Lisa had banked on. Instead, she'd given me the greatest wedding gift imaginable. Proof that I was marrying a man who trusted me, knew me, and would stand by my side against anyone, even my own sister. 2 days after my ruined wedding, I sat in Victor's high-tech office, Lisa's laptop in front of me. I had taken it from my parents' house, and now I was about to put my forensics expertise to its most personal use yet. Your sister made one crucial mistake, Victor said, connecting specialized equipment to the laptop. She tried to frame a professor who teaches digital deception. His tech team was already on the case. Within hours, we had our first breakthrough. Look at this, Victor said, leaning closer as data filled the screen. Message Master Pro, premium version. 3 separate purchases, all tied to Lisa's credit card. The first purchase was 8 days after she volunteered to handle your wedding social media. Victor said. She was already plotting. Further digging into the laptop revealed even more damning evidence. Hundreds of practice attempts at fabricating messages, timestamps, and location data. Screenshots painstakingly edited to perfection. She didn't even bother hiding this, I muttered, scrolling through file after file. She never expected us to look, Victor replied grimly. She thought her wedding performance would leave everyone too shocked to question the evidence. The office door burst open. Paul stormed in, waving his phone. I got proof, he said, setting it on the desk. Photos from the Tokyo conference, time-stamped hotel receipts, passport stamps, everything showing I was halfway across the world during those supposed meetings with Nancy. And I was in Denver giving lectures, I added, pulling up videos. Victor attended 3 of them. And we've got dozens of witnesses. My phone buzzed. Marcus, the resort's head of security, had something. Minutes later, we were in the control room, watching security footage. Look at this, Marcus said, pulling up videos from multiple nights. Lisa appeared on screen, sneaking into the business center after hours, testing different phones, taking staged photos, practicing shots. The evidence piled up, fake coffee shop receipts, doctored security footage. And then Victor's tech team cracked an encrypted folder on Lisa's laptop labeled Operation Wedding Crash. Inside was Lisa's detailed playbook, a step-by-step guide to sabotaging my wedding. Family dynamics carefully analyzed, reactions predicted, the timing of her interruption choreographed for maximum impact. This isn't just jealousy, Paul whispered, staring at the files. This is pathological. This is someone who's been planning my downfall since the moment Victor proposed, I said, my voice tight. Victor's phone buzzed. Breaking news. Lisa's throwing a party tomorrow night, he said. Chandler Hotel. She's invited half the city's elite to celebrate saving the family from scandal. She's even planning a full multimedia presentation. I stared at the mountain of evidence on the table, then at Victor. Slowly, a smile crept across my face. The Chandler has state-of-the-art projection systems, doesn't it? The best in the city, Victor confirmed, catching on. Lisa wants to give a presentation, I said, gathering the drives. Let's give her an audience she'll never forget. Paul checked his phone. She just texted me, asking me to testify about how Nancy tricked me. Perfect. I closed Lisa's laptop. She'll get her dramatic moment, just not the one she planned. Tomorrow night, my sister would learn a hard lesson. Never try to frame someone who literally wrote the textbook on exposing digital deception. With the truth loaded, backed up, and ready to deploy, I turned to Victor. Ready to crash Lisa's party? He asked, sliding the final drive into place. More than ready. It's time to teach her that some lessons come with receipts and consequences. The truth was set to blow up her lies, and I couldn't wait for tomorrow. The atmosphere in the ballroom at the Chandler Hotel buzzed with anticipation. Lisa stood at the center, addressing the city's elite with a champagne flute in hand. Tonight, we gathered to discuss a painful but necessary intervention. She began, her voice oozing false sincerity. Sometimes protecting family honor requires difficult choices. Behind her, the massive screens teased blurred snippets of so-called evidence designed to ruin me once and for all. Guests mingled around champagne fountains, oblivious to what was about to unfold. Speaking of choices, I called out, striding in with Victor at my side. Let's discuss some of yours, sister. Lisa froze, her champagne glass halfway to her lips. This is a private event, she snapped, regaining her composure. Perfect, I replied, gesturing to the security guards now sealing the exits. More witnesses. Victor stepped forward, easily accessing the presentation system. The screens flickered, and Lisa's credit card statements appeared for everyone to see. Message Master Pro, premium version. Purchased exactly 8 days after she volunteered to handle my wedding social media. Interesting timing, wouldn't you agree? Victor said, his voice calm but cutting. That's not. Lisa lunged for the controls, but security restrained her as more evidence appeared. The ballroom fell silent as security footage of Lisa's late-night plotting sessions played on the massive screens, followed by her meticulously detailed planning documents. Timestamps revealed Paul was in Tokyo during the supposed rendezvous she fabricated. Oh, and everyone should see this. I advanced the presentation to a document labeled Operation Wedding Crash. The audience gasped as Lisa's step-by-step playbook filled the screens, analyzing family dynamics, predicting reactions, even practicing her devastated expressions in the mirror. "You're manipulating everything," Lisa screamed, her voice cracking as she struggled against security. "Like these manipulated messages," Victor countered, displaying edit logs from the app she used to forge conversations. "Or these doctored photos?" The software's editing history filled the screens, exposing her practice attempts. Paul stood slowly, his face pale but resolute. "I want a divorce, Lisa. This is sick." Our parents, who had been proudly seated at her table moments earlier, now stared at their eldest daughter in horror. "All this," Dad said, his voice trembling, "because your sister was happy." Lisa's polished mask finally shattered. "She gets everything," she shrieked. "The perfect career, the wealthy fiancé, the dream wedding. I just wanted—" Her voice faltered as tears streamed down her face. "To destroy my happiness because you couldn't stand it." I finished coldly. "How's that working out for you?" Lisa lunged at me, mascara streaking down her face, but security intercepted her. Around the room, society friends turned their backs, some discreetly recording her meltdown. Lisa's carefully constructed social world crumbled in real time. 3 weeks later, Victor and I stood beneath the arch at our original venue, an intimate botanical garden overlooking the ocean. This time, our wedding was small, attended only by those who truly mattered. "Think she's watching?" I whispered as Victor and I exchanged vows. "Security spotted her car," he murmured back, "but she can't touch this moment." Lisa's life had collapsed spectacularly. Paul filed for divorce, citing her erratic behavior and criminal deception. Our parents cut all ties, and her once enviable social circle abandoned her. The last I heard, she left town, disgraced and alone. During our first dance, I caught a glimpse of her through the garden gates. This time, her mascara was intact, but her eyes were hollow. Our gazes locked briefly before security escorted her away for good. Victor dipped me dramatically, and I smiled up at him. "Ready to start our real adventure, Professor?" "Already living it," he replied, his eyes warm. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't just exposing lies, it's thriving despite them. As I danced in the arms of a man who believed in me when even my own family didn't, I knew I had won. Karma had come with receipts, security footage, and one excellent forensics expert. What would you do if your sibling plotted to destroy your happiness? Would you expose them publicly like I did, or handle it privately? Could you ever forgive them? Let's talk about family betrayal. Where do you draw the line between forgiveness and self-respect? Share your thoughts below. Hi, I'm Angela Mitchell. 5 years ago, life felt like a dream. My husband Jimmy and I had just celebrated our 7th wedding anniversary, and our little girl, Lisa, was the light of our lives. We lived in a cozy house in Boston, and Jimmy's tech consulting business was flourishing. "Babe, come here for a second." Jimmy called me into his home office one evening. I had just put Lisa to bed and walked in to find him grinning. "I set up Lisa's trust fund," he announced. "With the way the business is growing, our princess will never have to worry about college or anything else." "You think of everything," I said, wrapping my arms around him. Jimmy was always planning ahead, always looking out for us. Back then, his mother, Christine, was a frequent visitor. She adored Lisa. "Oh, my darling grandbaby," she cooed, showering Lisa with gifts. To me, she'd say, "Angela, you're the daughter I never had. I'm so blessed Jimmy found you." But everything changed when Lisa started getting tired all the time. She seemed pale and lethargic. Weeks of tests led to a devastating diagnosis. "Mrs. Mitchell," Dr. Torres said gently, "Lisa has a rare congenital heart condition. She'll need ongoing treatment, but with proper care, she can live a normal life." Jimmy threw himself into research. "Money's no object," he'd say, determined to find the best specialists. Our baby girl is getting the best care possible. Then, one rainy October night, my world shattered. There was a knock at the door. 2 police officers stood in the downpour. "Ma'am, there's been an accident," one of them said. "Your husband." I couldn't process their words. Jimmy was gone. Christine moved in temporarily to help. At first, it seemed like a blessing. "Angela, darling, let me handle the funeral arrangements," she offered. "You focus on Lisa." But something felt off. She started asking strange questions. "Did Jimmy leave anything specific for Lisa?" she asked one day. "The business must be worth quite a bit now. Have you thought about selling?" I caught her in Jimmy's office late at night, rummaging through his things. "Just organizing," she'd say with a tight smile. But I noticed papers out of place. Then Lisa's condition worsened. One morning, she clutched her chest, her lips turning blue. "Mom, my chest hurts," she whimpered. The emergency room was chaos. Dr. Torres admitted her to the pediatric ICU, warning us her heart was struggling. Christine was always hovering, but her focus wasn't on Lisa. "What about Jimmy's policies?" she asked. "And the trust fund, are you the sole trustee?" That's quite a responsibility for a young widow. Her sharp tone unsettled me. Then I overheard her on the phone. "Yes, I'm calling about accessing the trust fund for my granddaughter," she said. Her voice turned icy. "What do you mean I'm not authorized?" That's when it hit me. Christine wasn't here to help. She was after something else entirely. "Christine, maybe you should take a break," I suggested one day, trying to sound calm. "Don't tell me what to do," she snapped, but then quickly softened. "I'm just worried about Lisa's future." Her eyes, though, told another story. Later, she cornered me in the hospital cafeteria. Her manicured nails tapped impatiently against the table. "Where exactly did Jimmy put the trust fund paperwork?" she demanded. "That's being handled by the lawyers," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "Why are you so concerned about it?" "I'm family. I have a right to know," she hissed before softening her tone again. "I just want to make sure everything's properly managed." That night, I searched through Jimmy's emails and discovered something chilling. Messages from loan sharks. Christine owed hundreds of thousands of dollars in gambling debts. My hands trembled as I read. And then strange things started happening. Lisa's medication pump would suddenly be set to incorrect doses. Her oxygen levels would drop for no apparent reason. One morning, Dr. Torres pulled me aside, her expression grave. "Mrs. Mitchell, our night staff reported someone accessing Lisa's room at 3 a.m. The visitor log wasn't signed." Nurse Linda added, "The security cameras showed your mother-in-law here after visiting hours. She claimed she had permission." A chill ran down my spine. That night, I hid a small camera inside Lisa's favorite stuffed bear, hoping to catch whatever Christine was up to. The very next day, I caught her rummaging through my purse, looking for something. I asked coldly. "Oh, I thought my lipstick might have fallen in," she stammered, her smile faltering. Later, I reviewed the footage. My stomach churned as I watched Christine sneaking into Lisa's room late at night. She examined the machines, whispered into her phone about trust fund access, and muttered, "After the unfortunate passing." Then came the night that still haunts me. I had stepped out to shower and change when the camera feed on my phone began to beep frantically. Christine was in Lisa's room, her hand hovering over the life support machine. "Such a shame," she murmured. "But accidents happen in hospitals all the time. Mommy will need Grandma's help managing all that money." My heart stopped as her hand moved toward the power cord. "Code blue, room 204. Nurse Linda's voice echoed through the halls. She had spotted the flickering machines during her rounds. I ran back, my heart pounding, to find Linda reconnecting the equipment and stabilizing Lisa. "Your daughter's okay," Linda assured me, her face steely. She turned to Christine. "Security is on their way." "I was just checking on her," Christine protested, her voice trembling. "These machines are so complicated." "Save it," Linda snapped. "I saw what you were doing." As security escorted Christine away, she screamed, "I'm her grandmother. I have rights. Angela's turning you all against me." I sank into the chair by Lisa's bed, trembling with rage. My mother-in-law had tried to kill her own granddaughter for money, but she didn't know who she was dealing with. Nobody threatens my daughter and gets away with it. The next day, Marcus, the hospital's security officer, showed me weeks of footage. Christine had been tampering with Lisa's equipment, adjusting IV drips, interfering with oxygen levels, and even attempting to access medical records. There's more, Marcus said grimly, pulling up parking lot surveillance. She's been meeting with a man from your husband's old company. That discovery sent me down a rabbit hole. Logging into Jimmy's email account, I found suspicious transfers, hundreds of thousands siphoned into offshore accounts. Christine's signature was all over the paperwork. But the most horrifying revelation came from Jimmy's old phone records. On the night of his accident, he had called Christine in a rage. "What have you done with the company money?" his last voicemail demanded. Traffic camera footage showed a car resembling Christine's tailing Jimmy's moments before the crash. "Police ruled it an accident," Marcus said carefully. "But now, with this evidence, it's being reopened." The hospital banned Christine from the premises, and the director assured me, "We're fully cooperating with authorities." Christine showed up at my house one evening, tears streaming down her face. "Angela, please. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. I only wanted what's best for Lisa." "Like you wanted what was best for Jimmy?" I replied coldly. Her face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Get out," I said quietly, my voice steady. "The next time I see you, it'll be when everything you've done comes to light." Her mask finally slipped. "You ungrateful," she snarled. "After everything I've done for this family, Jimmy would have been nothing without my help managing that company." "Managing it right into your gambling accounts," I said, a faint smile tugging at my lips. She froze. "Oh yes, Christine. I know all about those too." She fled, but it didn't matter. All the pieces were in place. Christine thought she could get away with murder for money. She was about to learn how wrong she was. The next day, I made some calls. It was time for justice. "You won't believe what we found in the company records," Jimmy's former CFO told me. "Christine's been cooking the books for years. Several employees have come forward with evidence." The dominoes started to fall. The IRS launched a full investigation into Christine's personal finances and the company. They uncovered millions in unreported gambling winnings, elaborate tax evasion schemes, and fraudulent transfers. Her world crumbled. The company's shareholders filed lawsuits. The hospital pressed charges. The IRS froze her assets, her fancy house, cars, jewelry, everything was seized. 25 years, the judge declared at her sentencing, and full restitution of all stolen funds. Meanwhile, Lisa's health took a remarkable turn for the better. Her heart is showing significant improvement, Dr. Torres said, beaming. "The new treatment is working wonderfully." I took over Jimmy's company, determined to honor his legacy. Within 2 years, we doubled our revenue and expanded internationally. Then came the prison visit request. "Angela, please." Christine's voice cracked over the phone. "I'm so sorry. I was desperate. The gambling debts. I never meet." "Save it?" I cut her off. "You tried to kill my daughter. Your own granddaughter. There's no coming back from that." "I'm still family," she pleaded weakly. "No," I said firmly. "You stopped being family the moment you unplugged my daughter's life support. Enjoy prison." 5 years later, Lisa is a healthy, vibrant 11-year-old. The company is thriving, and we've started a foundation to help families with children facing heart conditions. As for Christine, she spends her days in a maximum security prison, broke, alone, and abandoned by her so-called friends. Her reputation is destroyed. All her schemes amounted to nothing. Sometimes Lisa asks about her grandmother. I tell her the truth. Some people are poisonous, and keeping them out of your life isn't just right, it's necessary. That's the thing about toxic people. They eventually destroy themselves. All you have to do is gather the evidence, stay strong, and let justice take its course. My daughter is alive. We're thriving. And Christine? She's exactly where she deserves to be, forgotten, paying for her crimes until her dying day. What would you do if someone in your family had been secretly plotting against you and your child for years? Would you consider forgiveness, or do you believe some betrayals are truly unforgivable? Share your thoughts below. Hi, everyone. I'm Sandra Jimmy, a successful real estate agent and the founder of Jimmy Real Estate Group. My journey here wasn't easy. I turned my experiences with betrayal and property fraud into a mission to help others find safe, trustworthy homes. After exposing my ex-husband Adam and his sister Linda's criminal network, I dedicated myself to developing affordable housing projects, including homes for survivors of domestic abuse. My story proves that sometimes losing everything paves the way to building something even better. Look at you, crushing it again this month. Another property sold, Susan said, grinning. Thanks, Susan. Yeah, being a realtor has really paid off. We were sitting at our usual coffee spot, reminiscing about how far I'd come. 5 years of hard work had bought me that beautiful 2-story house in Oak Ridge when I was just 32, long before I met Adam. Back then, Adam seemed perfect. Charming, supportive, always bragging to people about how his wife had bought their house all on her own. How's Adam handling the family business these days? Susan asked. You know how it is with those Chen Enterprises meetings, I said with a sigh. He's been coming home later and later. As if on cue, Linda showed up, uninvited as usual. Adam's sister had moved back to town 3 months ago after her divorce, and somehow she was always around. Sandra, I was just driving by and saw you here. Adam asked me to remind you about dinner tonight, she said, smiling in that overly sweet way I come to dread. I forced a polite smile. Thanks, Linda, but he could have just texted me himself. Oh, you know how busy he gets, she replied, waving her hand dismissively. By the way, I was thinking that guest room of yours would make a perfect home office for me since I'm helping with the family business now. Susan shot me a knowing look. We both knew Linda hadn't worked a day since her divorce. Later that day, I was checking the mailbox when my neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, waved me over. How are you holding up, dear? George and I notice Linda's car here almost every day now. She's just going through a tough time with a divorce, I said, trying to sound casual. Well, we're right next door if you ever need anything or anyone to keep an eye on things, she offered. That night, I tried talking to Adam about setting boundaries with Linda. Babe, don't start this again, he said, his tone sharp. She's family. But it's like she's trying to move in. And why is she suddenly involved in company decisions? His expression darkened. What's that supposed to mean? You don't trust my sister. His defensiveness was new, and it stung. Hey, I've got another late meeting tomorrow. Don't wake up, he added, brushing past me while checking his phone again, something he'd been doing a lot lately. The warm, attentive man I married was disappearing, replaced by someone distant and secretive. Every time I brought up Linda, he either shut down or got angry. Then things took a darker turn. One afternoon, Linda cornered me in the kitchen, sliding a stack of papers across the table. The Chens have always kept property in the family name. It's tradition, Sandra. You understand, right? She said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. I stared at the transfer documents, my hands trembling. My savings bought this house before I even met Adam. There's no tradition here. Her smile didn't falter. Don't be difficult. Adam agrees it's for the best. A week later, I noticed thousands missing from our joint account, transferred to an account I didn't recognize. When I confronted Adam, his explanation made no sense. It's just temporary business expenses. Stop questioning everything, he snapped. One evening, I came home early and overheard voices from the study. I crept closer. She's getting suspicious about the money, Linda whispered. We need to speed this up. Just keep pressuring her about the house, Adam replied. If she won't sign willingly, we'll find another way. My blood ran cold. The next morning, Mrs. Thompson stalked me at the mailbox again. Sandra, I don't mean to intrude, but George and I noticed something yesterday. Linda was bringing strange men into your house while you were at work. They had briefcases. It didn't feel right. That night, I installed cameras in the common areas. 2 days later, I watched the footage in horror as Linda rifled through my personal files and made calls. Adam was helping her. The final blow came when I found Linda in the backyard, burning my clothes in a metal trash can. What the hell are you doing? I screamed. Teaching you a lesson about cooperation, she hissed. Sign the papers, or next time, it'll be worse. I ran inside to call the police, but Adam grabbed my arm. You really want to do that? Think carefully about your next move, he warned, his grip tightening. In his eyes, I saw a stranger. Sign the transfer papers. Now? No. He slammed his hand against the wall beside my head, fury etched into his face. You ungrateful. After everything my family's done for you. That night, while Adam was sleeping, I packed a small bag and drove to the bank. My hands shook as I opened a safe deposit box and placed inside it my passport, birth certificate, property deed, and USB drives containing the damning footage. On my way home, my phone buzzed with a text from Susan. Did you get everything somewhere safe? Yes, I replied. but I'm scared about what happens next. Another buzz. Stay strong. We've got evidence now. They won't get away with this. If only I had known then just how deep their deception ran. The house was only the beginning. Sandra, you need to see this, David said the next morning, sliding a folder across his desk. My friend at the bank noticed irregularities with Chen Enterprises accounts. Flipping through the pages, my heart sank. Millions of dollars siphoned through shell companies, all leading back to Linda and Adam. And there's more, David continued. Remember Linda's divorce? My contact dug deeper. Turns out, she ran a similar scheme with her ex-husband's family business. Property fraud, embezzlement, fake investments, the works. He pointed to more documents. They're billing for construction on a property that doesn't exist, buying materials that never arrive. That evening my doorbell rang. It was Mrs. Thompson, clutching a USB drive. Our security cameras caught something yesterday, she said. Linda used a key to enter your house around 2 p.m. She left with folders. The footage showed Linda and two unidentified men carrying boxes out of my home. My stomach churned, but Mrs. Thompson gave me a reassuring smile. Don't worry. George made copies before giving this to you. He made you retire from the force, but he still knows how to gather evidence. With Susan's help, we created a detailed timeline. Missing money, bruises, threatening texts, everything was documented. Look at this pattern, Susan said, pointing at the chart. Every time you refused to sign something coincidentally happened to your property. Through David's connections, I met other victims. In hushed conversations at coffee shops and private rooms, their stories poured out. She convinced my parents to invest their retirement fund. One woman, Jenny, said, wiping her tears. Then the company disappeared overnight. She married my brother and tried to transfer his properties into her name. Michael, another victim, shared. When he refused, she fabricated abuse allegations. David's contact from financial crimes unearthed more damning evidence. Offshore accounts in the Caymans, years of tax evasion, and forged documents attempting to transfer my property. My signature was on the papers, but I had never seen them before. They're getting desperate, David warned. Be careful. That afternoon, I overheard Linda on the phone in the backyard. The signature's perfect, Adam. Once we file these tomorrow, the house is mine. Then we can move forward with a development plan. A text from Susan lit up my phone. Got the recording, adding it to the evidence file. Later that evening, reviewing the evidence with David's contact, the full scope became clear. Adam and Linda weren't just after my house. They were using Chen Enterprises as their personal piggy bank, orchestrating a massive fraud scheme. For the first time in months, I allowed myself to smile. The truth was about to explode in their faces. The next day, I stood before the Chen family board, my evidence neatly organized in folders. Adam and Linda sat at the table, smug and unsuspecting. I began my presentation, playing the security footage first. Adam's parents watched in stunned silence as their children's betrayal unfolded on the screen. This is just the beginning, I said. Your children have been systematically destroying this company. Chaos erupted. Adam's father slammed his fist on the table. Get our forensic accountants in here. Now. Linda burst into the boardroom, her anger barely concealed, but she froze when she saw her ex-husband, James, standing beside me. Tell them, Linda, he said, his voice sharp. Tell them how you did the same thing to my family. James placed a stack of files on the table, every page a testament to Linda's schemes. Within hours, company auditors uncovered the full extent of the fraud. Investors began pulling out as the news spread, and Chen Enterprises' stock plummeted. Later, in the parking lot, Linda cornered me. Her eyes burned with fury. You think you've won, she hissed. I still have one card to play. But her threat was empty. Federal agents, who had been monitoring her for weeks, were waiting for her to access a hidden offshore account. She walked right into their trap. Linda Chen, you're under arrest for wire fraud, money laundering, and criminal conspiracy. The dominoes fell quickly after that. Adam's business partners turned on him, revealing his role in an international money laundering network spanning 3 continents. Your evidence helped us crack a case we've been tracking for years, the lead investigator told me. From my office window, I watched as Adam was led out in handcuffs, news cameras capturing the fall of the once mighty Chen siblings. Their empire was crumbling. 3 months later, I sold the house and used the proceeds to launch Jimmy Real Estate Group. My first project focused on developing affordable housing on land the Chens had tried to steal. One day, my assistant announced, "You've got visitors." It was the Thompsons, their smiles warm and familiar. "We're looking to downsize, dear," Mrs. Thompson said. "Thought we'd give our favorite realtor the listing." That afternoon, Susan burst into my office, a bottle of champagne in hand. "Have you seen this?" she asked, pointing to her phone. Linda got 15 years, returned to sender. A year later, I stood in my new office overlooking the city. On my desk was a framed magazine cover. Jimmy Real Estate Group. Building trust, not empires. My phone buzzed. A text from David. "Guest who's getting an extended sentence for trying to run schemes from inside." I smiled, deleting the message. Linda would never change. Neither would Adam. But I had. "Your next appointment's here," my assistant called. A young couple walked in, their hopeful faces a reminder of where I'd been years ago. "Let's find you a home you can trust," I said, pulling out listings. Behind them, through the window, I could see my latest project, affordable homes for survivors of domestic abuse. A large sign read, "Building New Beginnings." The irony wasn't lost on me. Adam and Linda had wanted my house, my dignity, my future. Instead, they lost everything, while I built something bigger than they could ever have imagined. Sometimes karma works through real estate. Turning back to the couple, I asked, "Tell me about your dream home." "What about you? What would you do if you discovered your partner and their sibling weren't just after your house, but were part of a criminal network? Would you gather evidence quietly like I did or confront them immediately?"